horror collectibles and memorabilia, look no further than Nightmare Toys. You can find them online at nightmaretoys.com and on all social media at Nightmare Toys, the official store of THN News and the Horror Basement podcast. Check them out.
Hi, I'm Bill Mosley, and you're in the Horror Basement. Lick my plate, you dog bitch.
We have had a doozy of a day.
What an excellent day for an exorcism.
Here's Johnny! Welcome to the Horror Basement. I'm one of your hosts, Johnny. We got Jim Jam here with us.
Jim Jam
episode 200 of the Horror Basement. And we have a special guest for episode 200. Liam O'Donnell, writer and director of Skylines, Beyond Skylines, or Beyond Skyline. Is that right? Yeah, that's right. We talked to him before. Liam, how you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Actually got the very first one here where you started it all.
That's right. That's right. I have the trilogy on my dresser. It was like the first thing when I bought the new Blu-ray. I just grabbed all three discs and I sat there at my kitchen table and arranged them in a couple of different ways. And I was like, I guess I have to get on with my life now. But it was a nice feeling, you know.
Yeah.
I was going to ask about that on the trailer. We might as well just open it up with that. Will there be a combo pack? Is that possible to get together?
There will be. I've heard that there'll be a Beyond Skyline and Skylines one because it's two different companies. The first one was Relativity Universal, and then the next two are Vertical. So there was talk of Vertical using some of the artwork that our friend Julian Rico did, which was this triptych kind of illustrated artwork for the whole trilogy, and they were going to maybe do a packaging with that artwork for the two ones I directed for them. So we'll see. It's interesting. It's different for every territory because we're an independent film. So in Germany, they already did a double set Blu-ray of Skyline and Beyond Skyline, which I bought before this one came out. And I was like, oh, this is cool, just to have, on the shelf. So maybe there'll be one in some territory that has all three together. You never know.
So how many variants do you have of all your movies?
I'm not super crazy, but yeah, there's a couple. I have a couple of foreign discs that I've never played or anything. I like the artwork and stuff. The first movie had a lenticular artwork out of the UK, so I have some of those, and then I have. I never got the splendid German Blu-ray of Beyond, which has all of the special features. So then when I saw that this double feature one was up and it had that on it, I had to grab that. And yeah, so yeah, even our Blu-ray for Skylines, I was a little disappointed with because I did do a ton of special features work and only the main featurette got on there, which is a 24-minute making of behind the scenes. But we actually did a bunch of other little mini featurettes that have some of the footage, but some new stuff. And those are only available now on Apple TV. If you buy it on Apple TV, you'll get all of the little featurettes, and you'll get deleted scenes with commentary and without. But on the Blu-ray, it has the deleted scenes, but my commentary is baked in on them. So if you actually wanted to hear what the scenes were, you're just going to hear my dumbass talking over it the whole time. So I was kind of a little disappointed that they didn't put the extra care on some of that stuff, but it's a pandemic, so you have to kind of be a little bit forgiving when things slip through the cracks right now.
Well, how about a director's cut Blu-ray?
The director's cut of Skylines would just probably be 30 to 45 minutes tighter. It was just because of the crunch of post-production and the VFX. We had to lock the movie before we finished the VFX. So certain things, then you watch it afterwards and you're like, oh, I just would like to like tighten little bits here and there. So it's nothing. It wouldn't be. I wouldn't put any of the deleted scenes back in. It's pretty much both movies are pretty much director's cuts. The funny thing about Beyond Skyline is I feel like it's a little too tight. So there's some shots in it that, like in the previous version, we'd hold the shot a little longer, and I miss that in some places. It'll be just like them walking across the rice paddies, and it's like a really nice landscape shot, and it just feels like I want to see it for another like half second. So it's dumb stuff like that no one cares about. But for me, that's like Beyond. It's like Goldilocks. Beyond Skylines like a little too tight, and Skylines is has a little more air. So hopefully the next time I can get it perfect. But I like, they're generally what I wanted to make, so I'm pretty happy.
Well, it's understandable you wanting to have more of the scenery because Beyond Sky was definitely filming in some beautiful locations.
Yeah, that's another one of those things about Skylines that I think about, like what would have been, because we're supposed to do some of the alien planet in Gran Canaria, which is, the Spanish islands off the coast of Africa. And wow. I got to go scout these locations, and they were gorgeous, but like it was just sort of like the amount of work it was going to be to get there, and for the budget and for how little we were actually going to be able to shoot. It started to not make sense when we could do it so well within the stage. So in the movie, like, we had no money to finish it. So I assume going there that it would have gone over budget, and so I kind of have made my peace with it. But it's still those kind of compromises that you have to make along the way, and then you're like, oh, did we? It would have been. Who knows what we could have found there? What changes would be. You kind of have that on each movie about the certain kind of forks in the road in which way you go. But yeah, I'm pretty much at peace with it, but you can tell it's still different things I think about.
Where is I going?
You did say, but you said, crap. Forget exactly what you said, but you said next time.
Yeah.
So it was like next time in a different movie, or next time in like.
There's gonna be a part 4, Johnny.
Yeah.
I'm definitely working on I haven't been too shy about the fact that we set up a part 4, and I'm working on the script right now. It's actually proving to be, to me, the most difficult one to write in a lot of ways, because I've been kind of a little bit cute with the way these are sequels, but they're not really, like Beyond Skyline, you didn't have to see Skyline to get it. And I think that's kind of important, because we're a niche fan base, and I wanted each film to work for a first-time viewer. And then the same for part 3. We open a recap, and it's pretty much a standalone adventure once things get rolling. You all the characters that you need to really know in this story are in it, aside from Frank Grillo's character, and even him we introduce in the beginning, and then we have a flashback, so you kind of understand his emotional relationship to Lindsay's Rose. But now when I'm writing part 4, I'm like, it's actually the first true sequel in a way. And so that's where I'm like, man, this is like Lindsay's character Rose, she had a mini arc in Beyond Skyline, and she has a big arc in Skylines, and now you have to design a third arc for a character. It's a challenge, So it's definitely like I'm having a lot of fun, because I know these actors so well, and I love the characters so much, so they're talking to me, which is kind of like when I put them in the scenes, they're all talking to me, which is nice. But it is like, I really have to deliver something special now. It's like putting a lot of pressure on myself to really kind of to do it justice. And I also just don't take anything for granted. I don't take the fact that people have seen the other ones for granted, and I don't take for granted that could even happen, or if that's happened, that there's going to be a next one. So each one I try to basically, make it feel like that would be a very satisfying end chapter. You know, the ending with of Skylines was an alternate. We actually shot two, and so I wasn't sure if that was where we were going to go, and then the movie kind of told me that that's like her arc was very much completed as far as Rose's sort of like self-confidence and self-discovery. And the thing that was missing was this relationship with her dad, you know, like, so like another twist coming, like it just wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered. The only thing that mattered that could drive the narrative forward was finding out about her father. And so that just kind of like, you know, had to be the ending.
Definitely. The ending was really good. And if you didn't make another movie on it, it still ended in a way that was fulfilling. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean that was my goal because, like, again, I don't take it for granted, and it felt like, you know, like, yeah, like you can at least imagine what that adventure would be, and it's satisfying that, like, oh, I hope that they can rescue him and they all live happily ever after or whatever. So like there is that, but I would like to do a prison break sequence and see what you know, have some fun with those characters kind of smashing up against each other.
Definitely.
It's kind of like a Return of the Jedi, like, you know, like Jabba's palace sort of thing, you know, like you open up with that sort of thing, and then who knows where we go after that, right?
Hell yeah, that'd be cool.
So, Johnny, go ahead, Johnny.
Well, you said take it for granted that people haven't watched it. My brother just watched this one with me, and he hasn't seen the other two. And I was telling him about it, you know, just a little bit because there's so much to explain. But with the flashbacks, you could kind of say, see this part, you know what I'm saying? Like you can kind of tell someone about it a little bit better with the flashbacks. But he loved it. He said he thought it was great. And I told him, I was like, well, it's an independent movie. And he's like, man, they did a great job on like the effects and everything to be an independent film and it look legit and, you know, just seem just so cohesive and tied in there with all the special effects. It just looks really good.
Thank you. Yeah, and it was an extra challenge this time with the visual effects because it was a new team. To get the movie made, we had to make it a UK co-production, which means you have to kind of, even me being an American as the director was like a hit against it. You know, we had to like use as many different people and departments from the UK as possible to qualify for that tax credit. So so that meant we were going to use, you know, a UK visual effects vendor. So luckily, you know, Hydraulics was still producers on it, and they gave us the assets, the digital assets of the tankers and the spaceships and the interiors from Beyond Skyline, all the big, huge CG modeling that we did on that movie. We got those all on drives, and we gave that to Lip Sync out of the UK, and they were able to use that and kind of build off of it, which was, you know, incredibly invaluable. But it went from like me on Beyond working with Greg and Colin, who directed the first one, and they're like, you know, these guys who have like 20 plus years of visual effects supervising experience, to me sort of being on a laptop in a pandemic, like looking at shots on a monitor myself, and I'm working with you know, these other really talented VFX supervisors from Lip Sync and from Scope Germany. But it was like, it was definitely more of a challenge for me because I couldn't just be like, hey, what do you guys think? Is that ready? What's the problem here? This looks weird to me. What's that? So I kind of had to grow in that position a lot because it's incredibly stressful because, like, you know, you're kind of trying to keep everything, like you're saying, cohesive, and some different shots and things are done by different people across the world. You know, we still outsourced a bunch of stuff to artists in the U.S., like in Los Angeles through my company, and we also had artists in Germany. We had artists in India. So it's like all the stuff's kind of coming in, and you're not going into the VFX facility and looking at it on a big screen together and organizing it. It's all kind of being done like this, like on Zoom and on a software called Frame.io. But that was kind of like, that was all my 2020 from March until October was just like wake up every morning, look at shots, and do Zooms and emails all day to try to diagnose problems and make them better and figure all that out. But I miss it, even though I'm describing it as something. It was a blast to do it, but it really makes me happy when people say what you said, that the VFX look good and that they all kind of feel of a piece with all of the movies, because there's been quite a bit of change from the first one, 10 years later to the third.
Well, yeah, I think you introduced a lot more. Was it martial arts and to the second and third one? Was the first one really was just them stuck in an apartment, kind of?
Yeah,
And
the first one is just much more grounded. It's
yeah,
much more, which is funny because like the more grounded you are, and the more universal you are in a way. So it's like that one had such a big reach. It had such a big audience. But because we're kind of going into this VOD direction, it's like I just wanted to do what I love and kind of embrace the stuff that I love and throw everything I love into it. And it really was, the second one was going to be an action movie. Like this is going to be action. It's Die Hard on an alien ship, you know, Frank Grillo as Bruce Willis. And then we're going to have fucking Predator after Apocalypse Now in the third act. But when we go over to Indonesia and we're scouting it, the idea of getting Iko and Yayan in the movie is floated, and then it just turns out that they're actually available and they want to do it, and they want to do a bunch of choreo. So then it's like, oh, this like Predator battle that I had in the bunker is now kind of like a martial arts battle, and then I'm like, well, we got to have Frank and Iko fight when they first meet. And then it's like, oh, and then when we first meet Iko, let's have him stab a guy in the throat. And so I just kept adding more and more martial arts, and they're so good at what they do. Like that throat stab fight, I told them the night before, like, can we add a fight scene in there? And they're like, yeah. And, we just got a little bladder in Barry's neck, shoot the blood out. And so it kept getting more and more on that one. And then I wanted even more on the third, but the third, it was very much like, and I think smartly from the producer standpoint, like not to repeat ourselves. We're going to keep some flavor from the second one, but we're going to do something, different. And so that's what I do like about the third one quite a bit, is that it does feel like this sequel, but it is like it's playing in a slightly different sandbox, So we still kind of have this sort of Beyond Skyline 2 battle on Earth, but then we have the Skylines totally new thing happening on Cobalt 1 and in the spaceship. So it was kind of like and that was one of the reasons why we wanted to bring Yayan back, so that we had more of that kind of bonkers flavor and energy from Beyond Skyline.
Yeah, his character in this one, with the attached arms, just like running through destroying people or creatures or pilots, was really, really fun. I really enjoyed that.
There's a little glimpse of him in the bloopers at the end. You can see there was another little bit of the fight where he killed like 4 at once, but it just, because of costs and pacing, we had to cut that out. But there was even more fun stuff with him. Unfortunately, I had to trim.
The guy that played Z, Charlie Yoon.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you pronounce his name?
Cha.
Cha. Yeah. When he did the I don't know, I forget what it's called, but on the doctor's bed, the
kick up or the flip?
The kick up.
Yeah.
The kick up. I was just like, Jesus. That motherfucker. Like, 'cause, I mean, he went down and he jumped right back up on that little bed. I was just like, damn, now he's got some skills right there.
Yeah, I was worried that it was too fast. Like I was like, is this cut too quick? Because he's so fast. You know, he almost looks like we're shooting it like 20 frames a second because he's just like, but you know, he's just so fast. That was and of course Daniel's been, you know, doing martial arts for like 30 years. So the two of them together was like, it's just a different level. It's not an actor doing martial arts. It's two martial artists kind of just unloading on each other.
Yeah, that's a really good fight scene. Like I was like, yeah, I like this. This is, and you could tell they both knew what they were doing. And
yeah,
Daniel,
it was one of those things in the script too that it's like, and he grabs him from behind and he flips and breaks the hold and then jumps outside and locks the door. It was like such a short fight, but we just knew that it, you know, was like this is going to be a whole other thing. Once we get on set, it's going to be a real treat. And John Aiden from Real Deal Stunts, he shot the second unit for this, which was about 9 days of like, we would kind of like on main unit, we'd shoot usually Lindsay's side of the action and the masters, so all of the big wides in her side, or like Johnny, who played Leon. Most of the main cast, it's all kind of on the main unit. We do our big dollies on the side. We get their side of the action. And then the second unit would do their overs on a stunt double to the alien, which was the first time I ever did that. But it was because of the smaller budget, tighter schedule on this than Beyond Skyline, had to get creative. And so that was one of those things where it's like, okay, wait, you've got Cha, you've got Daniel, you've got John. We shot on main unit like the kind of like comic book panel tension of the two of them building. Then he goes up to the kick, and it was like, okay, we're done. We have to go shoot Lindsay, you know, getting pulled up on these on a harness in the other room. You guys finish the rest of this fight, and we just like come in and check on it, and they'd show the dailies, and it'd be like incredible, this amazing fast thing. And you're like, okay, great, I'll see you guys at lunch. Like, you know, and they just went all day. I think it was just a ridiculous setup count. I think they did like 60 something setups, and then and it's all kind of like, because we don't have a ton of rehearsal time on these movies, and a ton of so it's kind of like this like 3 move, and you cut, and so all of the cuts have to be very, very deliberate when you're moving from shot to shot, because there is no master, you know. There was no master of that fight. It was kind of like, okay, you're getting this from these 3 shots, and then this is going to connect to these 3 shots, and you know, you have to be really, really at the top of your game to kind of do it all that way on the fly. They had a day or two to pre-visit, but it's really me relying on these guys' expertise to deliver something that good in that tight of a window.
How long was the filming process?
It was like 30, I want to say 35 main unit days, and then 9 second unit days, and then I think we had 2 splinter unit days, which were like the opening to the bunker, you know, and that at the beginning, that was a real nuclear bunker in Lithuania. That apparently was used to house like an emergency television studio in case there was a nuclear war, that they'd still be able to send out news or maybe propaganda, depending on your side of the of that equation. But so we scouted that, and it was a really, really eerie, weird place to be. But the interiors looked amazing. You know, it's like it was tempting to shoot the interiors for our bunker. And I think that's one of the things that a little bit of experience from Beyond Skyline taught me, is that, like, you know what, man, you can just shoot like in a warehouse and everyone's going to think that this is inside the bunker. You don't have to actually do this. And so, you know, we did a half day with them driving around in the truck, getting that scene, and then driving up through the gate and getting out and into the bunker.
Was it all shot in Lithuania?
It was all shot in Lithuania. Yeah, we got we bought some. You know, we did some aerials from London and from England, and did visual effects over them to make them look all augmented and stuff like that. But yeah, all the photography was done in Lithuania, outside of Vilnius, Lithuania, in the summer of 2019.
What's Lithuania like for you?
I think it was gorgeous. It's a really kind of odd. I mean, I guess it was just odd for me because I'd never been to really Eastern Europe before, but it's small. It's a small-ish city. It's very walkable, and it's very pretty. Like one of the things that the city was designed that you could basically see a church like on every street. So you'd see these big, beautiful Orthodox churches. I went into one of our producers, local Lithuanian guys in a Lithuanian like folk rock band, and so I got to see one of his concerts at this big Orthodox church, which is gorgeous. And you know, it's good food, good drink, they have good wines, good lagers. So you know, we had a good time there, and it was kind of like a little college town in a weird way. They had recently shot Chernobyl there, which made sense. And so that was one of the things that gave us confidence because that show looked so amazing that and it's a much bigger budget, bigger schedule than us, and they handled it so well, and everyone spoke so highly of the crew. So we felt really confident kind of going in there, and they didn't disappoint. I thought the crew was really great, and you know, everybody that kind of came out of this movie had a really kind of special time together. It was definitely a fun time that I think becomes even more fun when 2020 hits, and you're like, wow, that was really awesome getting to, you know, work, you know, on something kind of so free and fun, and then, you know, heading out to the bar with everybody and having a good time afterwards. So yeah, I definitely miss Vilnius.
Yeah, that's what I kind of want to ask you. With you being in the film industry and everything, and being around actors and other directors and writers and getting to talk to them, how are they feeling about all this that's going on? Like, do you think movies will come back to theaters? Like, do you think it will be as big, or do you think VOD's it's going to push that way? In your opinion, I mean,
I think they'll definitely come back to theaters. I think just from my own personal experience, I think, you know, there's definitely going to be things that stay within the model, but you just don't make as much money. I mean, the HBO Max thing is a totally different model because they're trying to launch this system, you know, this platform. So I don't know. I think that especially, you know, like the big movies that I'm as guilty as anyone of, those are the movies that I primarily saw in the theater, you know, for the past couple of years. I had my first son was born in 2009. My fourth kid, another son, was just born in 2020. So movies are, you know, not as I never get to go to as many as I want to in a given year anyway. But like, you know, with my oldest, who's 11 now, it was like, you know, we're just I could tell he was like having a bad time last week, and it was just like, man, this would be like one of those days where I, you know, on a Sunday I'd be like, let's go to a movie and get him out of the house so that he stops fighting with his sister, and we go see something together, you know, go see like a Fast and Furious movie, and just get away for a few hours. So I don't see that changing because it's still these different opportunities within my life as a consumer, let alone a filmmaker, where I need it and it's not here. So I think the kind of something similar to what was happening before the pandemic will come back for those bigger movies. I think what, you know, the mid levels and the smaller things is just going to be an accelerant to what was already happening. And so yeah, I don't see it being the big seismic shift, because it's the same thing as like Yeah, we can all eat food at our house, but why do we go to restaurants all the time?
Yeah, I get out. See, I had just bought or 3 weeks before that, I got the unlimited pass for Regal before all of it hit, and I was going to the movies like once a week. That was my goal. Was like
Yeah.
go watch a movie, and of course I want to watch the big hitters, but also movies that I wouldn't necessarily go and pay for. 10, $15 to get in or whatever. It's just like, well, this will give me the opportunity to go watch the movies, and then 3 weeks. That's what I got out. 3 weeks.
Sucks.
And
That's bad time. That's a smart idea, and it's something I think now, like working from home now for the past year, it's like seeing how I worked at hydraulics like as a day job, office job for from 2005 to 2018. So I was used to that 9 to 5 thing. So I couldn't just be like, yeah, I'm going to go to a movie at like 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. But like now I would do that because I'm pretty much freelance. I work for my own company at my house. And I'd be like, yeah, it would just be a good thing to do like on the cheap day of Tuesdays, like go to that morning show every single week and bang out those movies and kind of get away and reset your head. So yeah, I definitely would do like the unlimited pass sort of thing now that I'm kind of off the 9 to 5 hamster wheel.
yeah, because I was going try to go like a Tuesday afternoon or Thursday afternoon when I get off work, go see the 4:30 movie. No one was in there. Maybe one other person.
Yeah, no one
You had
goes
the theater to yourself. It's quiet, and you set your phone down. You know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, no. Our
Sweet.
office used to be in Santa Monica, on the promenade. So there was a couple theaters there, and they were kind of older, but there was an AMC that kind of went underground and had these big shows. And so every once in a while I'd sneak away there for like lunch. Like I saw Olympus Has Fallen there like by myself on one of those days, and it was like it's great. Like I said, like there's 4 other people in the theater. It's kind of like I've always loved seeing movies by myself, to be honest, because you're free of anybody's expectation of what the movie is to kind of warp. There's nothing worse than like you're watching a movie with your friend or with your wife or whatever, and then they kind of hit you. You turn, you're like cool, and they're like this sucks. You're like oh. So it is nice sometimes to just kind of like have that one-on-one relationship with what's happening on the screen.
definitely, and I was kind of hoping that instead of them shutting down, which I guess from public opinion they had to shut down, that smaller movies, the big companies didn't want to put it out there, but smaller movies would have got put in. You know what I'm saying? Like a lower budget films would have kind of got put into the theaters and given the opportunity to.
Yeah, our movie was in a few places, like in smaller places like that, like Arizona and stuff for the week. But yeah, I mean, it's interesting. There's certain movies that did like really well at drive-ins this summer. Like I heard that movie, The Wretched, which I haven't seen yet. Like
Yeah,
I heard it did really well all summer, kind of playing at drive-ins. So it was like it's interesting to see, what was able to make it, and it's still just not. It's just not a number that the companies, like the big companies, are going to be happy with whatsoever. But
no, well, I mean, they want to be making like what 50 million to.
yeah,
Which some of their movies are 120 million plus another 30 million with advertising.
it's more than 30. That's the first Skyline was like a $30 million P&A, and that still wasn't like huge, you know what I mean? But that P&A that they did on that first movie is like still what these movies are coming out on, because the VOD ones, they spend nothing. It's like it's me kind of like hitting the pavement and doing these interviews and stuff is like the P&A. It's not like they're not spending it really on anything else. So but like yeah, like a movie like, and it's some of it's kind of funny too. Like did you need to spend like hundreds of $1 million for Avengers Endgame? Like wasn't everyone going to see it anyway? But they know better than me. They've run the numbers, they've done the math. They're like, no. If we do spend it this much, it's going to break every record. So they figured it out.
I guess they want to get the people that might not go to theater to go watch it.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, because that one, it's like, yes, it would have been a hit without spending this X amount of money. But if we spend this amount of money, it will push it into being such a cultural phenomenon that the normal person will feel like they have to see it or they're not going to be part of the discussion.
Yeah, the normal
So-
person will sit there for 3 hours.
Yeah,
Like the that's a long ass movie, man.
I know. It's interesting that
I loved every minute of it.
I did too. I find that Infinity War is like more rewatchable at home, though. I think I like Infinity War better because there's that first hour of Endgame, which was like, I remember in the theater being like, this is like a drama, but I was totally engrossed with it. But like the third time through, it's not as action packed as Infinity War.
Hey Johnny, why don't you show how dedicated you are?
Well, you probably can't see all that.
I can see some of it. I can see the. Oh,
You got-
you got Thanos and the. Wow, look at that! Incredible.
I got Captain Hydra shield on the back, but
That's great.
I got the Captain America shield, and then I was like, well, because I was planning on getting a full, just half sleeve done. But me and my dad used to go to see all the movies. Like, I mean, before he passed away, it was just something that we would go do, but his favorite was Iron Man, which my favorite was Captain America. So, but
After which movie did you get the Captain America shield?
I probably got this because I just recently got the Thanos. I probably got the Captain America movie shield 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, he got it at the Full Moon Tattoo and Horror Festival.
Yeah,
So
and it was
got it after Civil War, but before Infinity War.
yeah, and Civil War, dude. And
Civil War is great. I love Civil War, yeah.
And because I always said, Captain America would take down Iron Man, like it's just not. Like, but once I seen the first Captain America, what was the First Soldier,
First Avenger.
Yeah, First Avenger. Like I just loved it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like America. He was small and nothing, but he becomes somebody, powerful, but he's grounded. You know what I'm saying? He ain't full of himself. He don't have an ego. He's going to do the job and do it without, having to be thanked and,
Yeah, no,
whatever.
I really love the first act of that movie. I think it's one of the best of all of them, to be honest with you. I worked on one Marvel movie. It was Iron Man 2, and so that was only their third movie, and that was before Disney bought them. And we just did this one little sequence that's like when Tony is brought into the Senate, and they're showing all the world's different Iron Man technology, and they're using this as justification that he needs to turn it over to the government because the rest of the world is doing it too. And then he clicks on his footage and shows that no one's figured it out and that they're all falling apart. So we just had to make these like jokes about other countries' shitty Iron Man tech. So we like went out into the desert and we did like the French one was like very regal, but it tripped over itself and then murdered everybody that was at the presentation and stuff like that. And so but what was really cool was like, they did this open assignment and they were like, just go shoot this thing and we'll reshoot it on the main unit. But we took it very seriously and we, got wardrobes and we went out and shot it in proper locations at like airfields and stuff. And then they were like, okay, well, we can just use this footage. But we did go in and meet with Favreau and Kevin Feige and Justin Theroux, who wrote that one, and sit around the table. And what I love about that memory at the time, I'm like, I fucking loved Iron Man. Like this is like 2009, and Iron Man came out the year before, so it was like such a pitch me thing. But when I look back, I'm like, there's just like 5 or 6 people around a table, and like they kind of like went on to change, everything. Obviously they had this amazing well of material to draw from, but when I see the people that get really like on the anti-Marvel takes, I'm kind of like, I get it. I understand that you don't want everything to be the same, and you don't want like this thing has gotten so popular that it feels like it's omnipresent. But there's something I find just really remarkable that it's like a couple of people sitting around a conference table and they kind of like change the game. So I always give them a lot of respect.
Yeah. Well, it has to be pretty awesome to be able to, say that you worked on a Marvel movie.
For like, it like ended up. It was a much longer sequence. I think it's like a few seconds of screen time, but it is more. It's more that kind of like being in the room in that experience. Like I don't even think I said anything. I was just like, I was the kid back then. But it was just. It's like, now that Disney's bought them and that everything worked out so well, but like they had that plan from back then that this was all going to connect and continue to get bigger and better. So, when that was like, that phase 1 stuff, was like, everyone would be like, I remember people having like these quabbles and complaints about it. I'm like, they're just doing what I've wanted someone to do for so long. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. Like I've wanted to see someone really do this connected universe for so long, and these guys are pulling it off. Let's just, wait and see. And then kind of at each critical moment, they stuck the landing.
Something that DC didn't do. They keep falling flat.
They got good TV shows.
My wife loves The Flash. I watched the first season. I generally don't watch TV that much just because like I'll generally watch like a first season or a first couple of shows, and even if I really enjoy it, it just becomes too much of a time commitment. So I generally would be like, yeah, I like The Flash. I really like it, but it was like once I saw like Barry kiss the girl, I was like, okay, that's what I wanted. They kissed. I'm done with it. The endless kind of that model of the TV narratives can kind of wear out on me. But that's just a personal preference. I do prefer movies.
Yeah. Hey, I wanted to. Go
ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was gonna go back to. I looked up the IMDb for these movies, so I was gonna ask some stuff about the second and third one.
Yeah.
Well, what I looked up, I noticed on Beyond Skyline they have a goof part from Goofs on Beyond.
Oh, I haven't seen that. Okay, ask away.
Well, I'm not gonna read all of them. There's not that many. Character error says the main characters are taken aboard the spaceship in Los Angeles. After the ship crashes, they get out and they're in a completely different location.
Yeah, they're on a spaceship.
Yet none of them wonder why. It says yet none of them wonder why they're there. Where they are.
They go to Thailand.
So they're saying it's an error that no one says, where are we?
Yeah, because they said that the main characters are taken aboard the spaceship in Los Angeles. After the ship crashes, they get out and they're in a completely different location. I think they're kind of like, well, of course they're in a different location. They're flying somewhere else, right?
Yeah. And like the way they literally get up, they're like surviving, getting out of a river, catching their breath, and then someone runs out of the bush with guns in their face. So it's kind of like
they would give a shit like where they're at it.
You know what's interesting though? There was more of a little bit more stuff when they were when Frank was in the when him and the Jared pilot get on the ship and they actually go up to where the Harvester's kind of cockpit was. And even in this one, they still kind of go and he sees that he takes the ship off. If you remember in the theatrical version, Jared actually they're in Hawaii, and so Frank sees that they're somewhere and he takes off and leaves and goes off from Hawaii. But in the other version, like there's a couple extra CG shots of like the map of him seeing where they were and where they were going. But that's not a goof. That's someone's opinion.
Yeah.
I'm over here thinking that's an opinion.
Here was another one. It said at the 16-minute mark, Mark, the seasoned detective, asked his handgun, then asked for more clips. No trained detective or any person knowledgeable of guns would call magazines for a handgun clips. I
Okay.
call them clips too. I've
Yeah,
called
why
them
would,
that, but
I've
I guess
I've only heard people call them clips, so that's funny. But that was an improv from Frank. It wasn't in the script.
well
So
that I think just people that are like big gun enthusiasts, they probably only catch that or something. But any
I
for
thought it was a cool detail when he did it because usually someone just gives someone a gun in a movie and then they have like unlimited ammo forever.
yeah.
And he was like, "Got any clips?" It was like, "Oh, okay." This guy's like, he's not just feeling good about his 10 rounds or whatever. He's gonna grab the extra clips. I thought it was a nice little character detail, so that's why we left it in.
Oh, so that's just someone being an asshole.
No, these are like the
Not much
easiest.
about
These are
guns,
like
but
the
I didn't know
nicest.
that.
They're the nicest goofs I've ever heard. These are fine. These are great.
Okay, here's another one that's at the. This will be the last one. At the 39 point,
You gotta
39.
fucking put down the minutes in a second.
Yeah, okay, we'll just say pretty much at 39:50 is what it says. Mark is holding a newborn wrapped in his t-shirt, and you can clearly see the baby is wearing a diaper.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's probably true.
Yeah.
We did not want the baby to be pooping on Mr. Grillo. So she was definitely wearing a diaper, and there's way more continuity stuff with the baby than that. I mean, because the baby was like kind of not a last minute idea, but it wasn't something I originally wrote the script with, and it was actually going to be the Elaine character was going to be around longer, and she was going to be getting more and more pregnant fast, and that was more the ticking clock. But then when we were doing it over in Asia, and it just made sense to kind of condense that character. And then I was like, okay, this baby will be sort of a lone wolf and cub thing. That'll look cool. And it gives more scenes to just Frank. But then like we shot the movie so out of order. So we shot the stuff in Indonesia first. And even that, we shot them coming out of the river. That was shot way before them jumping out of the ship. And it was all in so many different orders that like the bigger continuity error when you watch now is the funniest one is like, she's got the baby and she like jumps out of the ship. And then when she's coming out of the water, the baby's like clearly months older and like, like this thing just like, it's like a mogwai. When it hits the water, it just grew like 6 months in the leap. And so that one to me is the one that when I watched it again with my wife in anticipation of Skylines coming out, we were both laughing at that. And I was like, hey, I was dealing with a lot that day. That river set where I had lined up that whole scene to take place, the river went up like 8 feet overnight. And and we so we had to spend like an hour scouting a new place to shoot that scene. And it was just one of those movies that like you were constantly putting Scotch tape on the train tracks before the train went over it.
How does that work with finding a baby? You just go, hey, can I borrow your baby?
Can I borrow your baby?
No,
Couple $100. I use your baby for like 2 minutes.
I mean, it's like casting any other role. You're obviously dealing with the parents, and in the U.S. and there was no baby in Canada, I don't think. No, but in the U.S., the rules are very strict. It's like I think it's something like 15 minutes a day. It's very, very short. So. And in Indonesia, it's a little more lenient, but we still would do it in the similar fashion where it's just like you do the first couple of takes with the dummy, and so there's plenty of shots in the movie with the dummy. I'm sure that people could, try to DI dummy out as much as we can, but basically you do all of the like first 3 takes you'll do with the dummy, and then it's like, okay, we've we're worked out all the kinks for camera. We've tried our ideas. We've kind of locked on to what the scene is. Now we'll bring the kid in for the last take. And then in some cases it would be like, just shoot the kids close up here, kid or baby. And so it all kind of cuts together. But that was definitely like one of those things for like a first time director. Like, man, you just didn't make this easy on yourself at all, did you?
All right. Well, this is going to be moving on from the goofs and stuff
Okay.
to connections of Beyond Skyline. And it references it has an Asian temple location with a character looking like Dennis Hopper. That's what it says from Apocalypse Now.
Yes.
And then you have an Indiana Jones reference. Mark compares the drug runner's hideout to the Temple of Doom. So
yes, that was an ad lib that I asked Frank to do on the day. I was wearing a Temple of the Doom T-shirt. I had my Fortune and Glory T-shirt, and so I was like,
and
what did you say, like fucking Temple of Doom? And maybe I said like something Temple of Doom, and I'm sure he was like fucking Temple of Doom because he likes to add fucking or fuck to pretty much any ad lib, if you've noticed in the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, and then on Skylines, the connections part references not in Kansas anymore.
Mm-hmm.
From Wizard of Oz, and then Aliens rips off Aliens several times. It says,
okay,
and then there's a reference from the movie Big.
Yes, those are all true. So they're not in Kansas anymore. Was Rona Mitra's? She ad-libbed that. She pitched it to me. There wasn't really a line in that moment. It was kind of like we cut to them as they're bursting out of the tent and they're shooting aliens, and she just felt like we had shot the exteriors first, and so she had done a few takes, and she's like, I think you're gonna want something before this. And I was like, oh, okay, well, what do you got? And so she pitched that, and she just does it so well. I was like, it's like it's obviously been done quite a bit, but I'm not gonna. You definitely never tell an actor no when they come up with an idea like that. You want to see how they do it, and then on camera, it was. She did such a great job that yes, it's Wizard of Oz, but it's also Avatar, as they referenced it in Avatar. So that was where I was kind of keeping with my James Cameron, influences on this. I felt like it fit. And then as far as Aliens, the most overt thing really is her saying, not bad for a human. Some of the other ones are like actually coincidental, like the fact that she gets in a tanker and people are saying, oh, that's from her getting in a power loader. It wasn't really. It was the fact that, we had that people can get in these tankers from the first movie. And it felt like that was something that was set up that I had to pay off, because you had Trent drive the tanker in part 2, but I really wanted to see Rose drive one. So that wasn't like, oh, she got the power loader in Aliens, so I really want Rose to get a power loader. It was more like I want to see the fact there's a lot in this movie was like, the first movie is these kind of powerless people getting, attacked and onslaughted by these aliens. And then this one, it's like, because we have this hybrid human badass with Rose, is like, I wanted to see her kind of grabbing the reins of that tech and using it back against the aliens. To me, that was a lot of the fun of having that character. So having her get to, get in the tanker was more for me paying off the first movie than an homage. And then again, that's at the end when she kind of sucks up all the aliens with the ship. It was like the first movie, the first thing that happens is aliens show up, they drop this light and they start sucking humans off the earth. So for the end of the third one, this, human hybrid is going to suck a bunch of aliens up into the ship. That to me is why I think the third movie, like you said, it feels like it has this satisfying ending because it kind of like inverts the first in a couple of key ways. So yeah, I mean, some of it is coincidental, some of it's accidental, but I mean, I definitely, without a doubt, was like, I want to do an Aliens type movie where a bunch of mercenaries go to the alien planet and they bite off more than they can chew. So guilty as charged.
What was it? What about the big reference? What was that one?
Well, it was kind of like trying to put into context that how weird Rose's character is and how to explain her abilities through pop culture references, I guess, because sometimes you forget, like, okay, I didn't try to draw like a strict adherence that the actual timeline of the movie would be that if the invasion happened in 2010 when the first movie happened, then like this movie is 15 years later. It's an alt 2025. It was kind of in my head, but I didn't really. I try to always just say like 15 years after the invasion and not date it so that people can just kind of imagine it 15 years from now, you know?
Yeah.
So that like 2010 is a baseline for the present day of the past 10 years in a weird way. But at the same time, you know, like obviously Leon is trying to understand the weird things that's going on in her power, and he's a kid who's kind of he'd be my age and he would have grown up seeing Big and Dracula and stuff like that. So he's just like, explain to me again what the fuck's going on with you. And yeah, it was one of those things that like I've never done really like overt movie references like that before. So it was like, is this gonna work? And I just think Jonathan Howard is such a good actor that he kind of delivered it in a way that felt like, okay, yeah, I believe it. And she has no idea what the hell he's talking about.
Hell yeah. Well, appreciate you talking about that. Johnny,
No
do you
worries.
want do you want to bring up the topic I sent earlier?
Oh, yeah. I meant to bring that up first thing just to get something started off, but I fucked that up. Yeah, it happens. 200 episodes, still fucking not good at this.
So this has nothing to do with aliens or movies or nothing.
Kind of sci-fi.
Yeah.
So Jimmy sent this over. The Meat of the Future, which I guess there's a few Meat of the Future, but KFC is to 3D bioprint meat using animal flesh cells. What about that shit? Like, that's totally sci-fi.
Wait, so the Meat of the Future, it's 3D printed meat from animal flesh cells, did you say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's like, I guess, how else are they going to feed people on spaceships, right? That makes sense.
Yeah.
That's exactly what Johnny said.
And that's what I told him. I've already seen something to this effect where when they do go to Mars, if because 10 more years, or is it 10 or 5? I forget when they say they're going to try to go, but if they can advance it, then they'd have the opportunity to be able to have a protein source of sorts, for this. But
no, you're right. That makes sense.
They cooked a steak on the show, and can't exactly remember which one it was on YouTube, but the steak was this big, and it was a piece of a steak, and I'm pretty sure it was a 3D printed one. It could have been something else because they're trying so many different ways to make meat.
Right.
I know it was out of animal cells, but yeah, it was just like a really thin piece, and they put it on the full flame and turned it. It was just, and dude tried it. It was just ridiculous.
Did it make you think of the Alien Resurrection whiskey pods that they have, where they put that little cube and then the laser hits it and it turns into the whiskey in the glass?
Oh yeah.
Do you remember that? Someone posted that on Twitter for me recently, and I was like, I always think about that.
What about
a nice little moment?
Yeah, that made me. What you said about that made me think about Back to the Future when they put a little bitty thing about this in, and then it come out to a full pizza.
A big old pizza.
Right.
Yeah.
I remember that. I mean, I was like second grade when that came out, and I was one of the morons who thought, oh, there are hoverboards, but the teachers union is holding them back. Goddamn teachers. God. And I remember my dad being like, do you think if the teachers had any say on anything that there'd be like skateboards at all? Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, oh, that's a pretty good point. Yeah. the teachers can stop the free market. I was like, oh, good point.
What year did that was Back to the Future Part 2, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What year was that?
I want to say it's like 90, but maybe
Yeah. I would have been 10 years old. Trying to think. Yeah, I'd been in like 5th grade.
1989.
89, yeah. So yeah.
Okay, off by a year. So yeah, so I'm 2nd grade. I'm 7, 1989.
I'm 9. That's such a great movie. I always wanted to
I think
have War II.
I was born in '84, so I was like 4 or 5.
Yeah,
You weren't at the theater.
No. I saw that movie later.
To theater to go watch it. I think my grandfather probably either bought it on VHS and we watched it because he was like the VHS collector.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? My mom hated
like
Chuck
that.
Norris, but my dad and my grandfather loved martial arts, and my dad was actually a black belt, and
oh wow.
he reached that. But they watched so Chuck Norris and Jean-Claude Van Damme movies and any kind of martial arts movie. Like I just remember watching on VHS.
I was just talking about the Jean-Claude Van Damme run there, where it was like, because I think for me it was like first action hero, first R-rated movie was Predator, and I was pretty obsessed with Arnold. Obviously from that and the Terminator and T2 coming out was like the biggest movie of all time for me when I'm 10 years old. But then like, he started doing, it was like less and less movies, fewer and farther between, doing those comedies. And it really became that like mid-90s JCVD run was a big deal. I saw like Time Cop in the theater opening weekend, and no complaints for me. That was Universal Soldier was a huge fucking movie, and then obviously
Bloodsport was the biggest Jean-Claude Van Damme movie for me. Like when I first watched it.
Well, like Hard Target though, like the opening of Hard Target and like the hype of Hard Target and like John Woo and like showing the motorcycle stunt over and over again on TV. That was like, okay, our guy's finally made it. He's hit the big time. So it was a fun time to be a JCVD fan.
Hey, have you ever went back and looked up the fight scenes from Bloodsport or something, and realized how much they relied on slow motion?
Yes. Yeah.
God.
Yeah. Still pretty good, but yeah, it's a lot of slow mo.
When they threw the powder in his eyes and he was just like, just that long on out eyes aside, man. I loved it.
I loved it too.
Loved it.
Nothing like
shit over. I've seen that so many times.
They do the like the double cuts a lot too, which is something no one really does anymore. Where you do like you'll see the kick from the one angle, see it from a second, and maybe a third. We tried that actually on Beyond Skyline on a few things, and it just pops out too much now. You can't really get away with it unless I think if it was more of a comedy, then you could do something like that. It was like when Frank like jumped in the air with the power claw to jump on the tentacle. We cut like a couple things, but sometimes if you repeat frames, your eye won't notice it and it'll make the moment feel bigger, but you can overdo it.
Have you thought about doing like maybe a horror comedy or something?
No, I did one. I've only done one real comedy. Anything was I had Hydraulics was doing this pilot, which was sort of a spec pilot that they did for a company that starred Ed Quinn, he's on the Tyler Perry's The Oval, and he was actually in Starship Troopers 2 and Eureka. So he's done a couple of different sci-fi things. He kind of looks like an older, buffer Bradley Cooper, and so he did this kind of show that was kind of a spec comedy idea of doing like the Bear Grylls thing, but he was being like how to survive an alien invasion. And Hydraulics would do all the invasion effects, and he would kind of be giving you actual practical survival tips, for what a real survival would be, but in a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek way, talking about aliens and stuff like that. And so they did a version of the pilot, and they came to me after I'd done Beyond Skyline and wanted a little bit more stuff with the suit. So because it was like just a spec pilot, I was like, okay. And I brought in one of my superformers. And so we did these interstitials of like with the drunk alien where he like, it was kind of riffing off of E.T. when E.T. gets the beer in the fridge and just how funny that was. We were like, and also in the Beyond Skylines, blooper reel, when the alien's just falling over, it just looks wasted. It was just funny. So a friend of mine who's a comedy writer, Jordan Van Dyne, he actually wrote The Binge on Hulu. He wrote these scenes with me, and I shot them with Ed, and we had the alien being like a drunk party bro, and like drinking all of this disgusting like Mickeys and he like malt liquor, and then like puking in his trailer and eating all of his food and playing Mortal Kombat. And that was like one of the most fun things I've ever shot. I actually put them all up on Instagram. So if you go to my Instagram at Liam Odom, you can find them. I don't know, maybe a year or so ago. But that was kind of the only like straight comedy thing that I did, and it made sense because it was something with the suit. But yeah, most of the stuff that I'm developing now is probably what you'd maybe expect, kind of action, horror, sci-fi, with two of them have martial arts in them, and then there's two new projects I've got sent. One is kind of a straight horror thriller that would be something lower budget, because it's just hard. It's hard to get something off the ground in this year. So I'm kind of nervous about like when we'd roll cameras on something bigger. So it was an interesting script sent to me that I responded to. It's about having a new baby and sort of all the postpartum depression, and I'm on my fourth kid now, so I understand. Even though I'm not a woman, I don't know what my wife is going through. I've lived through it, and I'm kind of. It's written by a really great female writer, and so I thought that would be something that would be really kind of interesting to do. And then the other one is kind of doing something going back to my roots, which is the first script I ever wrote, and kind of one of my favorite genres is disaster movies. And so I got sent a disaster movie project just recently that I was like, oh man, if I could do one of these, that would be a lot of fun. Like like Independence Day, Armageddon. Those are some of my favorite movies, most rewatchable movies. Nothing as big as that, but something that it would still probably be the biggest thing I've done yet. So we'll see.
Yeah. Well, hey, I got an idea, Johnny. You know where I'm going with this.
I don't.
Horror comedy.
There's many different stupid horror comedies that we've come up with.
Bigfoot Ghost Dick.
Oh God, no, just don't.
You've hooked me.
Johnny.
I don't even remember the whole premise
of
it.
Bigfoot, but his penis is a ghost.
How was it? Was he the ghost? I can't remember how it went.
I don't know.
Well, what if he's alive but his penis is dead? That sounds like what you pitched me.
It might be the was it the one where
my 11-year-old is gonna be like, "What are you talking about, Dad?"
Yeah, these four guys, and I come up with this just as a joke and just so people could have it. But these four guys, they want a penis enlargement. Well, the gypsy comes through town, and she's selling one. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
What they didn't know was that it uses Bigfoot bones, part of the what serum or whatever. Well, then you get haunted by a Bigfoot, and yeah, it's just stupid, man.
I love it.
It's gonna get a little bit vulgar here, but I think
no, I'm not even gonna give the rest of it out. I'm not telling
You
him
gotta
the rest.
say that part. You gotta say that part.
No. It's all good. He don't need to know.
Well, I'm
On a
gonna say it.
podcast-
I'm gonna say it because it's funny as shit. Don't
But,
you?
okay,
Don't
let's hear it.
they either? They get to
You
keep
get that off your chest.
What is it,
Tell
Johnny?
me.
They get to keep the thing, or they got to smash the Bigfoot lady gash.
Yeah. Because it's a lady Bigfoot that comes and it goes back. Oh man, I thought about this for over like a few days for the podcast itself, just to just as a joke, but it still lingers apparently.
Because it's so great.
Yeah, either
So it's a female Bigfoot. So, but that's a twist, right? They think
Yeah,
it's
that's
like,
the
oh
twist.
no, the Bigfoot wants its bones back, but then you find out the twist is no, this aphrodisiac is attracting the female Bigfoot.
what it is like God, I didn't really
Just do it, Johnny. Just
somebody that actually
Let's work with
writes
it.
and directs movies.
Workshop this.
We're workshopping that. But see, I even have a past on it, but it's all coming back to me now. But
it's all
what'll happen
coming
is
back.
they'll come in, and what you'd see is like a hand up underneath the blanket, and it's all fuzzy. But she's like, and she smashes it. You know what I'm saying? It's just
I think I do.
as revenge for what happened to her in like the real far past. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And like gypsies ran across the bones, and it's all fucked up, dude.
So it's her husband's bones.
No, it's hers.
Okay. It's her own bones.
Okay, this is what it was. Back in the day when the settlers came, they seen her and thought, well, she's just a really hairy woman. So they raped her and then they killed her. And then
God.
So, and it's more of a curse. And the gypsies found the bones and ground them up as a curse. But she's trying to sell you back like a serum to get rid of the curse. You know what I'm saying? Like it's all convoluted, man. It went a lot better in the original podcast when I brought it up. But the big joke was, either it falls off or you got to smash the Bigfoot lady gash. Yeah. And but that's the whole thing, though. It doesn't matter. Even if you smash her, it's going to rot away.
Okay.
Like, you're done. No,
it's a real deal with the devil. I get it.
I don't know why. Sorry, you have to hear that shit.
No worries. It's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
It's your horror basement, man. It's your horror basement.
That would be a fucking horror in the basement if smashing Bigfoot lady. We're not going to end it right there. I want to ask one question. You got to end it a lot better.
We're gonna end out strong. All right, let's pick it back up. What do you got?
The bloopers that y'all showed at the end of Skylines, which I really love. I love it when movies do this because I like the crew looked like they were having a freaking blast. The masks falling off the guys in the suits and just everyone having a great time. And it made me feel even better about the movie. But when Lindsay said, I'm pretty sure she said, "Fuck you, Liam," or something.
Yes.
Why? I was like, what'd you do to make her laugh?
I get texts from those people. Like, what'd you do? So it's because, you see her, she's holding this pose like as hard as she can. And I'm supposed to cue grab. So then she's like, she can release the tension. And it's like the claw is going to grab the spaceship because she's pretending she's in the cockpit right there. When you watch the movie, she's like, and then she shoots the tentacle and that grabs into the cockpit. And then the scene's pretty much over after that. So I was just like watching it. I think that the taker. So before it was like, I didn't know if I had drawn the tension out long enough, that she had gone to this to then shooting it. So I was like, all right, I'm going to just go a little bit longer. It's one of those things that you think about, when you're a little bit of that experience of doing it. The second movie, I felt like some of the stuff in the first movie, like I would underestimate how long you need to hold a reaction shot. You know, like when you watch like a Spielberg movie, and the way the reaction shots are really the best part. Like they're just so amazing, and they're always a little bit longer than what feels natural on set. Sometimes, you know, you're like, if I looked and I saw an alien, I'd be like, fuck, and I'm running away. And so that was kind of more Beyond Skyline. People would just be like, fuck, and they'd go. They wouldn't kind of do like these bigger fuck and turn and run away. So it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, we'll hold it a little bit longer, and at the and she's you know, very comfortable if it's going too long. She's just going to call cut, so it'll be fine. But she was like really, really straining, as you could tell. Like the veins in her body, everything are going crazy, and I'm just holding it. I'm not giving her the cue. So she was just like, "Fuck you, Liam! What the fuck?" And I was like, "All right, great, we got it. It's done." And I just felt like I even remember when she said it out loud on the set. I was like, "That's going to be the end of the blooper reel right there," because it's just like, you know, a whole movie is, in some ways, it's like everybody just kind of having to suffer through you and all your weird ideas. And I'm sitting there with like Shakespearean actors like Alexander Siddig, and I'm explaining to him like this sci-fi gobbledygook that only exists in my head, and they're like, yeah, okay, dude, like go. So I felt like it was kind of fitting to just be like, all right, fuck you, the movie's over, and then it would do my credits. I felt like that was an appropriate way to end everything.
Yeah, that was great, because I thought Jonathan was going to mess with her.
Well, he actually, like, the moment after we cut the thing, he actually was like, and it's a big baby boy. We delivered a boy. Good job. Because he just totally feels like he's her, like, Lamaze partner in those scenes where he's like, okay, breathe. You got it, Rose. You got it. There's a big baby. So, you know, I wanted to keep the whole end of the blooper because he's hysterical at the end, but it just felt like we'd already gone on, like, way too long. So yeah, but that was definitely at the end of every one of those takes, there was a lot of laughing because one, it's just funny the way he kind of like grabs this rope, like he literally just grabs a wire and they'd pull him up like 4 feet, and then they just drop him into the set, and he'd have to sell that, and we would just be cracking up every time that would happen. And then he's kind of you know, over her shoulder, you know, as the labor partner. And he's such a good ad-libber that he would just say different funny shit each time, so it would crack her up as well. So yeah, he definitely did get her a few times in the movie for sure.
Oh yeah, man. We appreciate you coming on and talking to us, and I know how you feel telling your ideas to someone that make no sense to other people, but in your head it does. I know exactly how you feel now.
Okay, but like, so like you're in a set like with like, you know, where she goes and opens the core drive and she walks down that catwalk. So like on set, there's no catwalk there. She's walking on the dolly track out of frame, and it's one of those things where you've got this, everything's written on the script and you think it makes sense, and then you start describing it out loud to everybody, and you can just see the glassy look in their eyes. You're like, so then you're going to twist this, and a catwalk's going to come, and it's going to unveil this blue light, and then you're going to blast it with the red light, which is going to turn into a purple light, and you guys are happy about the purple light. And they're like, why the fuck? I'm like, you know, so you're kind of, when you're saying it out loud, you just realize how insane this whole thing is. And luckily, you know, they're all such professionals and good sports. They go along with it. And at the end, it all kind of works. But it is that, like, once things you can have made up in so much sense on the page, when you start kind of explaining them out loud to people, you're like, yeah, this is only in my head that this is going to make any sense to anybody.
Yeah, trust me, I understand. Bigfoot ghost stick, man.
I have a vision.
And Johnny, and we still end on Bigfoot ghost stick.
Then I got a friend that will introduce it.
Yeah. Yeah, he really, you know, threw you on the bus.
Hey, John, I believe in your idea. I'm trying to get it made.
I don't think that's going to be made ever. Like, who's going to sign on to that project?
It's gonna be a tough one. I'm gonna be honest with you.
It has
I'm
to
a
be a
bit-
student director.
Hey,
like,
hey,
someone in
hey!
school.
I'm gonna
Maybe
pitch it.
animation.
I'm gonna pitch it to
Animation.
Joe. Hey, I'm gonna tweet Joe Lynch and see if he'd be interested.
Yeah. Liam, man, thank you for coming on and being a good sport with us.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah,
Sitting through-
I'm happy to come on with you guys anytime.
that was a lot of fun.
I want to hear about Bigfoot Ghost Dick Part 2 next time.
Yeah, I'll work on that. I'll work on that. Just for you.
Hey, Johnny, do you have an idea, real quick before we go, do you have an idea what fourth Skylines would be called? Because we did do that on the first interview.
Oh, yeah, I don't know.
We speculate.
You guys talked about what the third one would be called?
Yeah, we speculated on what it would be called. Or no, the second one. It was the second one.
Title. It's. I just have a weird working title right now, but no one's guessed it. It's not. I've been joking that it's Skyline Forever, but
that's funny.
But that which is a good kind of online version of it. But yeah, we'll see. You know. But yeah, tell me what are your guys' ideas?
Well, I think the last time we come on, I told you it could go on forever because the one was Beyond Skylines, and then it's Skylines and Beyond.
Yeah.
And then God, there were so many of them. I don't remember.
Oh yeah, I think it's I made like the Pantera joke where we can be far beyond Skyline.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, like you just keep going with messing around with it. But I haven't thought about it. I didn't think about that. I think I thought about that more and more on that day, and I just, I didn't think about that today. So, yeah, I don't know.
It's so weird the way they do like namings now. It's probably going to be like I'll have some clever name, and they'll be like, you know what? It would be great if it was called the Skyline. It's like the Predator, the blah 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 is the way of. It's like if you don't let people know it's a sequel, they're less intimidated by it when you're getting into these higher numbers, and they're more likely to give it a chance. So that's why they go with these like Halloween, even though it's a sequel to the older movie is still called Halloween. It's strange.
Yeah,
right,
we've discussed that a couple of times on here. That name.
Halloween Kills. And we'll just end there. Wow.
I still actually haven't seen the 2018 Halloween. It's on my DVR. I gotta check it out.
It's good. I think
looks good. Yeah.
They brought it from 70. What was it? 79.
I think it's 78. I want to say, but I'm
78. But they brought it from that era to 2018.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They took the no kills to 2018 and made it into what horror is now.
Yeah.
Compared to what it was.
You gotta do. That's what you gotta do. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine with me.
Cool.
Well, yeah. Again, we appreciate it, Liam, and definitely we'll talk to you plenty more.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Have a
great week.
Yeah, you guys have a great weekend too. Cheers.
Thanks, sir.
Now it's time to say goodbye to the basement guys again. They would like to thank you folks for kindly dropping in. You're all invited back next week to this locality to have a heaping helping of their hospitality. Or that is, spooks and spells. Take your shirt off. Y'all come back now, you hear?